Hello there, welcome to RTFM guys, aka Read the Freaky Manual. I'm Roberto Cruz and today we are continuing, we are getting on with the RSLogix 5000 Emulate Getting Result Guides manual. So we're going to be RTFMing together, and today is our third video if I remember correctly. And just a quick recap guys, so we went through chapter 1, chapter 2 and 3, so today we're doing chapter 4. On chapter 1 we had a bit of an introduction, we had a table of comparison between a physical controller and a virtual controller. We had how to launch, on chapter 2 we had how to launch the application, how to navigate through some of the bits and pieces. Chapter 3 continued on the same topic, obviously including a few details on the special instructions like breakpoint and trace point. If you guys notice anything that I might missed on those chapters, just please let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to revisit. So the idea is to go through every single bit in this manual, but obviously things like, as I mentioned before, installation and uninstallation, I just skipped that chapter. I didn't see any reason to cover that at the time for the time being, but I'm more than happy to revisit them if you guys wanted me to do so. I'm more than happy to go for the first chapter as well. Okay, so let's just crack on with this. And so we are on chapter 4 and how to configure. So now is where things will get nicely, and you guys gonna be excited for, right? So let's just switch screens. So before we create anything, I've prepared here, guys, a nice page so we can see a simulation running. Okay, first. So before we go, before we continue on chapter 4, I just want to show you guys a few things, right? If for whatever reason, this section on RSLogix Classic. For those of you who don't know, RSLogix Classic is pretty much like a gateway server. It's pretty much like an I/O server where you configure your PLC systems along with non-Rockwell devices, internet, industrial protocols, different protocols. Basically, is a powerful tool, and it's required in order for you to configure your systems, your Rockwell systems, as well as your non-Rockwell systems, which are integrated with any Rockwell Allen Bradley system, right? So as you these, if you see my cursor where it's highlighted in blue here, okay, selected ABVBP, which stands for Allen Bradley Virtual Backplane, okay? So you've got to have this configured in order for you to be able to run the emulate. For whatever reason, this is covered, this is being detailed and further down the manual. We're going to get through that, but I think it's important just to show you guys very briefly how it works, right? So you can see here on the virtual backplane, I state on how many modules are being used, right? So you can see that on slot 1, you've got the RSLogix Enterprise. Slot 0, the one that I showed you earlier, this one is allocated to the RSLogix server. And our controller is configured to slot 2, and our module configured to slot 5. So just briefly show you guys. So you have to have this configured, and I'll show you later as we move down the manual. I'll show you how to configure this from scratch, right? It's not a big deal. It's pretty simple, but I'm going to skip that for the time being. Okay, let's just minimize that. Boom, here we go. This is our, for those of you who don't know, and it's the first time you're seeing this, this is your powerful Logix Designer. So it's the tool, is the application software that you use to design your automation system, your PLC. Basically, you code your PLC using Allen Bradley Logix controller. So you use Studio 5000, Logix Designer. All right. So you may see it's online. It's in run mode. Everything is all right here. So now you can see there is a normally closed contact. I'm not going to go through these instructions. This is going to be content for future videos, but I just want to show you guys that I've got an online system and how it actually works with a simulation. So what happened here is, I'm just going to close this. So basically, we have got an I/O module configured here. And if I, like I showed you on our previous video, if you just click on that, it pops up with your LEDs, right? Every one of those squares is related to an I/O, hence obviously does an input and output. So if you just right click on this and obviously select properties, you go to I/O data. Okay, so those are the inputs and outputs. So as you can see between brackets here, if you click on any of those inputs, you force them on and off. So those basically simulate like a push button or add a prox sensor, you know, a proximity sensor, or any sort of input like a valve position or anything like that you can simulate here. So for our instance, so if I press input 0, which is being configured right here, you see this start system. We're just going to click that and boom, look, we've got our bit of software running. So it's basically shifting between them outputs. So you can see all the outputs shifting from the least output to the highest, and it's moving down. As soon as it's done, it will restart it again. All right. So this is how the simulate works. So you can either watch your outputs moving from this bit, and obviously from the LED. Okay, so if I click it again, if I toggle again, it will toggle it off, and your code basically stops, right? Here we go. This is like I said, this is one of the things that are gonna get nice. It's gonna get interesting, right? Okay, so let's crack on with the menu. So basically, this section is gonna show us how to configure an application from scratch. It's gonna minimize this for the time being. Okay. Zoom in on the top left on our chassis. Let's close that for a second. All right. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so basically in order to configure a new studio, right? So simple stuff. Like I said earlier, right click here, create. You've got two options. You've got an I/O module simulate. We've got a controller or alternatively a controller. So we're gonna pick up a controller this time. So controller, right? Version. My version is going to be set to 24, and I show you guys in a second. So set your remote program. Memory size, right? Memory size. Oh, to be fair, I always set to default, but you can always set that. You can always set that according to your controller. So if your physical controller has got like, I don't know, 16,000 kilobytes, so 16 megabytes. You can just set that to, I was going to set that to 8, right, just for the time being, doesn't matter. But if you are mean to simulate a system, like a full system, and you require lots of memory, because your code, your application code is huge, is large, you can configure this memory. Okay. Periodic save, this is pretty handy. So periodic save interval, it's basically if you are running your application every couple of minutes, it will save the state of it and the configuration in the background. I never used it. So if you want to save, you can select, like, this has been by default set to 10, but you can also enable the periodic, save set to 10, and then obviously in order to enable that, and then you check this, enable periodic save, and boom. I'm gonna leave that. I never use this, right? It doesn't matter, this is simulation. What it really matters is your application code, all right? But having said that, you might as well be working on a very complex system that you need to save a certain state, a certain scan. So it might as well just be useful in a situation that I have never been through. So it could be useful, right? So move, okay. So continuous task. So what does the manual says here, right? Continuous task basically specify the time in milliseconds between the end of the continuous task and the start of the next execution of the continuous task. All right, I'm gonna leave that to 10 milliseconds is quicker enough. CPU affinity, basically if you have multiple processors on your PC, multiple CPUs, you can select which processor you want to use. Okay, so basically, if you have lots of tasks running on a certain processor, you can set this to another processor, for instance, right? I'll always leave that as default. We can change to 1 for the time being. Channel port is, are you going to be using serial communication? In our case, none, so leave to none. Finish, boom, here we go. Emulation is right here, all right? So I'm gonna launch an RS, let's just gonna bring our Studio Logix here. And I'm just gonna show you quick, guys. So we've created a new processor, right? And this is it. Next video, we're going to show you guys how to download, how to create the same processor in our Logix Designer application. So that's all for today, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you do like the content, please do consider to subscribe to this channel. Likes are really appreciated. Make sure you ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Follow us on Instagram, our social media. You can engage with any, if you have any ideas or thoughts, you can obviously leave down in the comments for future content. And this is it, guys. I hope you guys enjoy. Always RTFM, don't forget that. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.